15th of March, Rabbi Moore, Parsha Hashavua, Tzav.
Thanks to Meir, who held the fort. We got up to
Pasuk Zayin.
correct. Yeah, we did that. We're up to Pasuk Zayin. Yes. By the way, I forgot to make a mention to earlier that there are a number of points which overlap between Parshas Vayikra and Parshas Tzav. But in general, the Chazal darshan why things are repeated. Leaving that aside, but the general difference between Parshas Vayikra and Parshas Tzav is that Parshas Vayikra deals with the person offering the korban. Okay? Meaning, what the obligation? The person wants to offer a korban, what should he do? Okay? Whereas Parshas Tzav concentrates on the Kohen's, the Kohen's job is of offering people's korbanos. Here's the different aspects of the Kohen's job. So, needless to say, there's a little bit of overlap there, but the point is that we'll see that for instance, in the first one, it says, Zois Torah Tzav Aaron Responav Leimor. That Aaron is being addressed. The Tzav Aaron Responav Leimor, Zois Torah Sa'oila. So the first section was, this is the law of the Oila, what the Kohen should do when he's offering the Oila. Now, this next section starts with Zois Torah Hamincha. Okay, Lou, let's please read.
Zos Toras Hamincha, Hakrev Osa, B'nei Aharon, Lifnei Hashem, El Pnei HaMizbeach. So this is the law of the meal offering that was brought near.
That was not quite. This Hakrev is an imperative. Hakrev Osa B'nei Aaron Lifnei Hashem El Pnei HaMizbeach. B'nei Aaron should bring it before Hashem to the face of the Mizbeach. Hakrev is an imperative form. So the introduction is, Zos Toras HaMincha. This is the law of the Mincha. Now, what should we do? Hakrev Osa B'nei Aaron Lifnei Hashem El Pnei HaMizbeach. The sons of Aaron, right, should bring it before Hashem El Pnei HaMizbeach. It's interesting, it uses a singular form, even though we're referring to B'nei Aaron. And I'm not quite sure why. Rashi doesn't dwell on it.
Well, does the Osa refer to the carbon?
Yes, the Mincha. That's it's a feminine.
They shall bring it.
Bring it, right. Bring it. B'nei Aaron, but the B'nei Aaron is the subject. So it should say Hakrivu.
I thought
Hakrivu is B'nei Aaron.
Subject.
Okay, I'm not sure why. Rashi doesn't say anything on it. Just, I just want to check how I translate.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe it's treating it as a group, one group.
It's possible. It's possible. Just want to see the Vayikra. Where are we up to?
Of Zion.
So it's interesting because I see that the way you translate. This is the law of the meal offering that one of Aaron's sons shall bring before they turn into the front of the altar.
Wow.
Now that so the Targum does say, "Doraistim minchasa diyakorvan Yosef bnei Aaron," that the bnei Aaron shall bring. Okay, could be that what I originally said was an imperative. Hakrev Isa is not actually, Hakrev is not an imperative, but a infinitive. The Bnei Aaron bringing it, which I'm just translating it literally. This is the law of the Mincha, with the Bnei Aaron bringing it before Hashem, opening our Mizbeach, the face of the Mizbeach. Okay. Let's see the Rashi here.
Zot Torah, Torahs Hamincha. This is the law of the meal offering. Torah achas lechulan. There is one law for all of them. Lahat inan shemen ulevona. That they require oil and frankincense.
Hamurim be'inyud, which I mentioned over there, means the Rashi is pointing out in what aspect is the mincha one uniform law applying to all meal offerings. We see, I mean, if you look in last week's Parsha, each mincha had a different thing. There was a mincha soiles, and there was a mincha ma'afeh sano, which had different ways it was placed. One was baked, the other one was prepared on a flat pan, the other one was prepared inside a deep fryer, a deeper pan, a deep pot. So there were different types. So how can you say that this is Zos Torah? Sorry, this is the law of Zos Torah Samincha. This is the law of the meal offering. This implies there is a uniform law applying to all meal offerings. So Rashi says, in what aspect are all meal offerings the same? That inon shemen ulavoina hamur be'im. That every single meal offering had to be mixed with oil, okay, and to in a certain way, okay. Some actually were anointed with oil, some were actually mixed with oil, but all of them require oil, ulavoina, and they also require, besides the meal offering itself, they also require to be offered together with frankincense. Okay, so Rashi goes on.
Sheyachol ein li te'u nos shemen ulevona. That I might think that there is not a requirement of oil and frankincense.
Hello.
Mincha Yisrael, except for the meal offering of an Israelite,
Right?
he metzes, that it is taken from the handful.
Yeah, which means Shinik Metzes means the law of the regular meal offering, which is offered by anybody in Klal Yisrael as a gift offering, was that the Kohen would separate a kometz, which is a 3-finger fistful. Excuse me, the tongue twist of that one. Okay, meaning the Kohen would take with this thing. He would take put his hand. Let's take a simple case where it's a meal offering of actual meal, right? Means it's made of flour, right? So the Kohen would put his hand into the flour mixed with oil, and he would put his hand in and then take out, actually it was like not such a simple thing where he'd hold his hand closed like that. He would hold his hand like this, that there was actually his hand, he held a certain measure of flour in his hand, and then he would clean it off, which was one of the avodas koshes shebemikdash. He'd have to clean it off with his pinky, like this. So it's actually not a simple thing to do. You have to make sure the third finger stayed in place and just the pinky moved to clean it off. And then that amount which was left in his hand, that was called the koimetz, and that was offered on the mizbeach, burnt on the mizbeach. And the rest of the meal offering was eaten by
shehi chalio minayin.
Okay, so minchas kohenim shu kalil minayin. The mincha of a kohen, right, as we've been describing over here, was completely burnt on the mizbeach. There was no kmitza, and separating kmitza, and the kmitza was offered burnt on the mizbeach, and the rest would be eaten. By a minchas kohen, right, had to be entirely burnt. As we're going to see later, where is it? Pasuk Tezayim. Minchas kohen kolil tieh lo yiseyach. Every mincha, meal offering offered by a kohen, kolil tieh, had to be completely burnt out. Lo yiseyach, it was not to be eaten. Okay, so therefore, says Rashi, okay, that I might have thought that the minchas kohen, since it is not eaten at all, doesn't require shemen and lavoina. Talmud loima toras, that there's a uniform, wherever the Torah uses the word zos toras, means this is the law, means a uniform law applying to all of that particular group. So here, zos toras ha-mincha means this is the uniform law of the mincha, that there are certain laws which apply to every single meal offering without exception. Even though there may have been a reason to differentiate this certain types of meal offerings from others, nevertheless, the Torah says, every single meal offering brought as a korban has to have this rule, has to have this law, i.e. in this particular example, has to have oil and frankincense.
But
By the way,
not the fistful.
Yeah, not the fistful, because since the Kohen's own mincha there was no need to separate a fistful because the entire meal offering was burnt on the mizbeach, and the Kohen didn't need anything of it. By the way, I have no idea what the significance of it is, but apparently in the time of Corona, it was discovered that the frankincense had a very positive therapeutical effect on people who suffered from corona.
Really?
So, the early stage, the first wave, which was people who suffered chas v'shalom, it was serious and it could even be dangerous then. People who took frankincense had an amazing improvement. However, a friend of mine who did actually take it and had a tremendous improvement. However, one had to be done carefully because it raised the blood pressure tremendously. So before you start adding frankincense to your diet, consult your physician. Okay.
Akrevo sa, bring it near. He hagasha. This is bringing it near. The keren de romim ravis.
Romis ma'aravis.
De romis ma'aravis.
It means to the southwestern corner of the corner. Now, this southwestern corner was the ramp was on the south side of, as we're going to see, Rashi is going to point out how we know this. We know it was the south. Rashi is going to go on to explain. Okay, it's because it was a combination of Lifnei Hashem, but El Panei HaMizbeach, which is not necessarily the same side. Just 1 second. Yeah.
Before Hashem, Hu Ma'arav, this is the west. Shehu Litzad Ohel Moed, that it is on the side of the tent of meeting.
Right. Okay, so therefore, when the Mizbeach, the ramp was on the south side, as we're going to see in the next Rashi, and then the 4 sides, you come up from the south, the east was away from the Beis HaMikdash, and the west was closer to the Beis HaMikdash, or to the Mishkan for that matter. Okay? Yeah. So next Rashi, El Panei HaMizbeach.
El Panei HaMizbeach, in front of the Mizbeach.
Yes, literally to the face of the Mizbeach. Okay.
Hu Ha-Darom, this is the south. Shehu Fanav Shel Mizbeach, which is in front of the altar.
That's called the face of the Mizbeach. She'akevesh nosun la'osa haruach. The ramp was placed on that side. Meaning, so therefore, anybody who came up onto the altar had to come up from the south side. So when you come up to something, enter a building, so the place where you enter the building is the face of the building, as far as you're concerned. Mm-hmm. So therefore, anybody who came out on the Mizbeach came out from the south side. So the south side of the Mizbeach was the face of the Mizbeach, because that was the side of the Mizbeach. Anybody coming up on the Mizbeach, that was the first side of the Mizbeach, which he which he entered or came across when going onto the Mizbeach. Okay, so that's why it's called the face of the Mizbeach. Okay, I'll just show you actually, again, I'll show you, I mentioned this to you yesterday.
Yes, you had the picture of it.
Yeah, just let me see something here. It's basically the same picture. They're pretty much here. Let's see over here. So you see this, the Kohen, he's coming up on the south side. That's where the ramp is. Okay, and you'll see that there are 3 big fires there, and in the middle there was a mound of ash, which was called the tapuach, which means apple. The tapuach generally means anything blown up, anything. How should I say it? Anything which is piled up and made and blown up into a mound. So therefore, that's why the middle thing was called, was really a mound of ash. That was called the tapuach. But you see the kevesh, which is where am I? Where's my finger? It's further up, sorry. Yeah. This is the kevesh where my finger is.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see the Rabbi Kohen over there. And this is the south side. Okay.
What in the right corner?
Sorry?
What did you just point to in the right corner?
That's the Kohen.
That's a scale?
Yeah. Be'erach.
Wow.
It was a big thing. It was 32 amas by 32 amas from the bottom. At the top, it was 28 by 28. Even the inside area was 24 by 24. 24 amas is 12 meters by 12 meters. 12 yards, 12, 13 yards square. Okay. Now, I'm not sure how you see it, because according to what I see it over here, it's reversed. Because I guess the way the picture is. Because this is my finger, but the Beis Hamikdash was on this side, and this is the entrance to the Azora, which is really the picture's being reversed as I see it on the screen, but I don't know how you see it.
Mm.
And it was because according to the way that I have the picture, the Kohen is standing on the top of the ramp, and to his left is the entrance of the Azara, and to his right is the Beis Hamikdash, which wasn't so, it was the other way around.
So we say it correctly.
You see it correctly, good, okay, very good. Okay. Yeah. Okay, weiter. Pasuk Pasuk Ches.
Okay, let's see. V'heirim mimenu b'kumtso misolet hamincha umishamna et kol halivona.
Ve'et kol halavona.
Ve'et kol halivona. Asher al hamincha v'hiktir mizbeach reach nichoach azkarata laHashem.
Okay, Lashem. Okay, let's see the. Let's translate.
Okay, the Heirim isn't that to lift, and he lifts?
Right, he really means in this sense of he shall separate.
Separate, okay.
It's bekumtsoi, with his komet, which means his 3-finger fist.
3 fingers, okay. Misolet from the flour, mincha, of the mincha offering, I guess. Mishmana, from the oil, it's oil?
From its oil.
Okay. The Yetkol Halavona, and all of the, that's the frankincense, right?
All the frankincense.
All the frankincense.
Everywhere that the frankincense mentioned, the actual frankincense was never burned on the Mizbeach. It was always put on the mincha and then removed afterwards before it was actually, I'm sorry, the other way around. The levona was never eaten. The levona was always burnt up on the Mizbeach.
Ah, okay. On the mid, okay, the hiktir, okay. And he, let's see.
Burn it up, the hiktir Mizbeach, burn it up on the Mizbeach.
On the Mizbeach, a pleasant aroma, as karata, because it's a remembrance to Hashem.
So this part of the korban it's the part of the mincha which is offered up as a remembrance to Hashem.
Okay, so Rashi, let's see. V'heirimi menu, we shall separate it. Okay. Meham chubar.
By the way, I just translate askara, so not as remembrance, because Hashem always remembers. It's commemorative part.
Oh, commemorative. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
who is remembering here, Hashem or us?
Well, we want Hashem to remember us.
Ah, I see.
That's what I'm saying. In other words, that's why it's commemorative part, meaning we want to show Hashem that we have fulfilled what we're obliged to do by offering this meal offering, and that part we're giving to Hashem. So thereby Hashem should remember our good deeds and favor us.
I see.
Very good. Okay. The Heirimi Meno, so he separates it. Let's see. Mei Hamuchubar. That is connected. Sheyehei Isaron Shalem. So there will be a Isaron is a 10th. Oh, Shalem, a complete 10th.
Right, but Vas Achas, all together,
in one at once. Oh, okay, together. Okay, Bishat Kmitza. At the time that he does this Kmitza, the three finger
fistful. Okay. Now, what is interesting point, what Rashi is coming to point out is that, first of all, the standard measure, which is actually mentioned in Parshas Vayikra, standard measure of a meal offering was 1/10 of an ephah of flour. Okay. Sometimes it was baked, as I said, or otherwise it was remained as meal. It was like a flour, but it was made out of 1/10 of an ephah of flour, which is actually quite a bit of flour. It's the same amount which is a shir challah. The person, if your wife bakes challahs, but when you make a dough out of a certain amount of flour, then you have to separate challah from it. Okay, and that shir is 1/10 of an ephah. So that amount of flour, so the Rashi is telling you over here that that it has to be mimenu, from the entire quantity of flour which you're going to offer out, or to have your total amount of your meal offering, then you have to have that entire amount of flour together in one kli, and from that the Kohen would separate the kometz, the 3-finger fistful. Okay.
Okay, so it says bikum tzo, and that's the 3-finger full.
Right.
Okay, shalo ya'aseh midah l'kometz. One should not make a midah. Is that a measurement?
Correct, for a kometz. So what Rashi is pointing out over here, first there are 2 points. One is that the Kohen had to actually each time put his hand in and take out a 3-finger fistful. Okay, it had to be done by him and not by using some standard measure like just putting in the kli. In other words, you could say, the Kohen would measure one time how much is my size of my kometz, and then when he's measured the kometz, okay, this is amount. So we'll take it next time. We'll take a little shovel, put in the shovel, measure out, and put it here, make a special kli of that size, and put the flour inside, or the whatever kind of meal offering is doing. Put the meal inside that kli, and so that's all he needs to do. And offer that on his back. He doesn't actually have to use his hand to separate the flour to the kometz. He can use a kli. So the pasuk says, no, but kum tsoi, his kometz. Not, if it means that you could use a kli, it says, v'himenu b'kometz, without being his, particular to this particular kohen. So the Torah is telling you it's going to be bekum tsoi with, as the kohen actually physically has to do the kmitza. And similarly, it's irrespective of, it doesn't have to be a fixed. Each kohen, according to his 3-finger fistful, that's as much as it was separated. The kohen had a small hand, he took out a smaller amount. Kohen had a big hand, he took out a larger amount. That is the mitzvah that the kohen, according to his size and him personally doing it, he had to separate the kometz. Okay, next. This is the next.
Yisolet hamincha ushmana.
Mishamna.
Mishamna. It's oil from the solet. It's a fine flour and of the mincha, and from its oil. Mikan shekometz mimakom shenit rabah shmana. Okay, so from here,
we learn out, right, that the separation of the kometz should be from a place shenisrabe shmana, shamna, that there was a lot of oil in that particular place. By the way, shouldn't be misguided to think well, 1 second, Kohen's taking out flour, right? And how's he going to hold it in his hand, in his fist, right? In the palm of his hand? The answer is it was mixed with oil, and therefore it stayed that the oil bound the flour so that it was like a kind of a paste, and therefore that's how it stayed in the hand. Okay, but the pasuk standing over here, a place where it was oily. Right? A lot of oil there.
Okay. So now hamincha, the mincha offering. Shalo tehei me'orevet ve'acheret. So it shouldn't be mixed with anything else.
Correct.
With another.
Okay.
So that means it's only this fine flour and oil. That's
right, and
that's
only
it.
one mincha at a time. Don't combine two meal offerings together and do them together.
Okay. V'et kol halvona asher al hamincha v'hiktir. So, and all the this frankincense that is on the meal offering, okay, shall go up, shall be burnt, I guess.
You shall burn it. Right.
Okay.
You shall then burn it on his back. So Rashi explains how did he do this?
Shemilaket et levonata le'achar kmitza umaktiro. Okay, so he
collects
the frankincense. Okay. After the kmitza, this 3 fingerful.
Right. After initially the Kohen's taken from the flour and oil together, Kohen's taken poimets of this mixture. He then he collects all the frankincense that's been put on this meal offering, okay, and he then burns it all up.
Burns it up. Lefi shelo peirash kain.
This frankincense has a very interesting. It comes in pellets, like little balls.
Really? Huh.
So it's not such a major job to collect all the frankincense. It doesn't get mixed up with the flour. It remains as separate pellets.
Okay. Well, lefi shelo peirash kain ella ba'achat min haminachot. Vayikra hutzrak lishnot parasha zo kemishpatan. Oh, I missed some. Okay. Hamincha kemishpatan. Okay. So it says that it wasn't fully explained, it looks like, except in one of the mincha offerings in Vayikra. Oh, okay, that's what we said. Okay.
Right, so there it mentions only one time to mention the sinning of putting on levona. Okay. So now the pasuk is telling you over here, this is the uniform law of the mincha, meaning all meal offerings are required to have this. As Rashi mentioned before, oil, that the meal has to be mixed with oil, and also that frankincense has to be placed on the mincha. And then afterwards, collected and burnt up on the mizbeach. Okay, let's do one more pasuk over here. Pasuk Tes. Hadoseres mimenu, Lu.
Hanoseres mimena yochlu Aharon uvanav matzos te'ochel b'makom kodesh
B'makom kadosh.
Kadosh. How do you know it's kadosh and not kodesh?
Because the vowel under the kuf is a komatz, and the vowel of the dalet is a chayla. Kadosh.
I see. kadosh. Bechatzar ohel moed yochluha. So it means and that part which is left from it shall be eaten by Aaron and his sons, and it shall be eaten without leaven in a holy place.
As matzos, the Bokum Kodosh in a holy place. And what is that holy place? Rashi is going to explain. They shall eat it in the courtyard of the Oil Moed, which is basically the courtyard of the Mishkan. Okay, that's what Rashi is going to point out. By the way, that was a rule for all types of korbanos, which are called Kodshe Kodshim, means holy of holies, the sacrifices of the higher level of holiness have to be eaten within the confines of the Mishkan or Beis Hamikdash, respectively. And that was within the courtyard. Okay, that's what it means. It means it cannot be eaten outside the courtyard. And the terminology used by Chazal, lifnim min hakloim, within the hangings or the which were surrounded. When they were in the Mishkan, there were hangings which surrounded the courtyard of the Mishkan. So the food, the korbanos, kochi kochim, had to be eaten there inside the Azara, within the area enclosed by the hangings. Okay, let's see Rashi.
Makom Kodesh.
The Makom Kadosh, in a holy place.
Kadosh, I did it again.
Okay.
In a holy place. The Ezehu, and where is that? Bechatzar Ohel Moed, in the courtyard of the tent of meeting.
Right. Okay. Very good. I think we'll stop here. We got up to Parsha Yud. By the way, tomorrow is a Tainis. We'll be learning regular.
That's my plan.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay with me.
What about Thursday?
Thursday, yeah, Thursday is nothing for us.
Okay, I have to see it works out for me because I may have some other commitment then. But I'll inform you tomorrow exactly what's going to be. Okay?
Very good.
Hey, God, Colton, have a great day.
Go to be well.
Thank you. You too. See you, Mayor.
Okay, bye now.
See you, Yechiel.